Nice to say we made it through another holiday season, and I'm happy to be leading off this year-end adult overview on how accounts and titles performed during Q4. We've assembled a great group of our salespeople to give specifics on the holiday performance at their customers and channels. Outside of a strong Black Friday and Small Business Saturday to kick off the holiday season overall, things started slowly out of the gate with store traffic and sales at the register getting bigger as Christmas and Hanukkah drew closer. With Christmas landing on a Wednesday, most stores saw very strong sales the weekend before and on Monday the 23rd. Barnes & Noble CEO James Daunt told the Financial Times, "We are, quote, in the last minute game, and it was a solid Christmas that came late because of the way the calendar fell." Bookscan reported that the last full weeks of the year saw the largest POS numbers in 5 years. It definitely feels as though the shop early trend from a few years ago has completely worn off with consumers. Most stores reported that strong sales continued during the week between Christmas and New Year's. It was another holiday season where there wasn't a, quote, must-have book, with sales spread across many titles and genres. James, Martyr, and The Serviceberry were 3 titles that we heard the most from booksellers in terms of sales. Our in-stocks and transit times got compliments from booksellers, although in the direct market, Diamond and Lunar received some complaints about their shipment delays. One thing that did stick out this year was that we had some key titles release on the Tuesday before Black Friday and on Christmas Eve. Just a request on that going forward, that we take a look at production schedules and make sure that there's some slack to allow for any delays, either at the printer or within with customers. We want to take advantage of every sale that we can on those dates, but it gets very stressful, as you can imagine, during the Thanksgiving holiday and during that Christmas break, if we are having challenges getting books to stores, or if stores are having difficulty putting books on their shelves. Our top adult categories across the PRHPS portfolio in Q4 were comics and graphic novels, fiction, cooking, self-help, art, and body, mind, and spirit. And I'm happy to report that each category was up in Q4 in net billings. Business, health and fitness, and house and home were some categories that we did not see increases in billings during Q4. In terms of format performance, the PRH portfolio saw an increase in hardcover billings, with deluxe and spec'd out editions being sought by many consumers. Trade paperbacks continue to see increases in billings at most customers as they favor bringing these in multiple quantities. Comic book billings were flat, and box sets were down this year due to strong comps against TV and movie tie-ins from last year. Our reps once again did a fantastic job participating in holiday presentations to consumers at many stores and libraries, pitching staff picks and rep favorites and titles focused for gift giving. These presentations resulted in many titles being featured in holiday gift guides and on tables, staff pick sections, and social media posts by stores. And staff pick sections were where a lot of sales at bookstores came from, as consumers continue to connect and trust the recommendations from booksellers. PRH again received high marks from retailers for keeping books in stock, as well as our reliable shipping, especially to the indies, who again benefited from receiving their orders in 2 days. We are continuing to see significant reorder activity coming out of the holiday break, and are hoping weather conditions don't cause any more delays than the ones we've been seeing this week. We're hearing from several retailers that their on-hands are in good shape, and we should see low returns coming back. Looking at this point last year in terms of return pallets, we had 437 at this point, compared to our current level of 466. So right now we're in good shape. We want to say thank you to our publishers for giving us another slate of great books in the fourth quarter and keeping as many of your books in stock as possible. We're fortunate to have several carryover titles to continue working on, along with New Year, New You perennials. Overall, it was another challenging year, but rewarding Q4, and we're excited to see what books you will have for us next year when we get together with you during your fall adult launch meetings next week. We want to continue to partner with you in making sure we are each on the same page in terms of priorities, reads, sales materials, customer feedback. And with that, I'll turn things over to Colleen Murphy, who will be giving us an update on the national accounts that fall under her. Thank you.
Hi, everyone, and Happy New Year. I'm so glad to be here with you to share some of the incredible Q4 successes. I want to start out by thanking everyone for all of your incredible books that you brought to us and the team this year to sell. So huge thank you. I'm going to go as fast as I can, and if I get cut off, I will send notes. But I have a lot to get through. So the sales team came to you often throughout the year with many requests from our customers, and I'd like to thank you all for supporting these asks. Things like spreadsheets, which are not going away anytime soon, format changes, cover requests, and deals. I promise you that always the driving factor with these requests come with much thoughtful consideration and how they can lead to sales growth. There were some similar drivers across all of the accounts for my team that were important in Q4 and will continue as we look ahead to the priorities of 2025. I have 3 words for you that you have heard from me before and will continue. Make big, bigger. Retailers are looking for support and pre and post pub date. They're asking at sell-in what plans are in place on books, big books on sale and after on sale. As one of our keen reps puts it, word to the wise, we cannot rest on our laurels of specs alone or exclusive. Retailers are looking for and need author engagement, partnership plans, or strong publisher support to encourage pre-orders. So make big, bigger, and pre-orders are the words to remember for me today. All right, I will, we probably will be expecting some returns that we always get annually at the beginning of Q1. Or throughout Q1 as retailers are clearing things out. They've shifted their buying strategy, taking smaller amounts to cover shorter windows. So hopefully the impact will not be what it was in years past, but keep that in mind. So quickly, starting with Amazon, Q4 billings were up nearly 4%. Q4 POS in unit sales was up a whopping 18%. And at the end of November, the latest reporting we have, the Amazon gained market share by 3%. And I'd like to also note that the entire year POS was up at Amazon. Starting with fiction category, graphic novel sales inclusive of manga were up 11% over last holiday season. Traditional graphic novel sales were up 13% over in 2024, and manga sales were up almost 15% and gave 5 points of market share. Q4 fiction overall was up 33% in 24, and tremendous growth in romance year over year, and a strong increase in mystery and thriller. Sci-fi and fantasy is flat. That message lines up with our other retailers as well. Moving on over to nonfiction, we were down in categories like biography, business, health and wellness, and social science categories, and up under art, photography, history, parenting, relationships, and self-help. Many of these categories are impacted largely by just a couple of titles across these categories. So 1 or 2 titles made those particular ones go up. Lifestyle categories such as craft, hobbies, house and home, and travel were all up. Cooking, food, and wine were down slightly. There were some challenges with operational procedures, especially in Q4 when Amazon decided to expand shipping from 3 IXD locations to 5, right in the middle of Q4. There were some hiccups, but of course it ended up being smooth thanks to all the work done by all of our teams. The team makes a great effort to ensure that all locations are properly stocked to fulfill and node and fulfillment to customers. The Amazon EIS team completely changed the process for reps to request reorders. Reps can no longer make specific reorder requests. Instead, they must factor in several forecasting reports in order to suggest that Amazon update their forecast algorithm. So that all goes right back to after on sale support, publicity, marketing, all of that. That's what they need. So please be sure your My Plans are always up to date so that reps have all they need to make the most of this new development. We saw earlier that normal inbound backlogs at Amazon throughout their network. We see that every year, and that's something you should count on and keep that in mind when you are considering pub dates. Amazon always backs up, but I will say, incredibly, We saw almost no out of stock situations throughout the quarter because of the work done on our Amazon side and our customer service sides. We're grateful for CDF as we were able to still and still are fulfilling many customer orders directly with Amazon as Amazon continues to be slightly delayed. Although we're hearing we're coming out of that right now. Thanks to all for having the books available. That's huge. Some good news on the Amazon side, we saw very strong performance for titles enrolled in deals in both October Prime Day and Black Friday, Cyber Monday during those promotions. But even better news is that we saw a great lift on almost every title across the category, with some clients up double and triple digits year over year. Again, it goes back to what I said before. Thank you for that support that the teams go and ask for. Amazon shared that the 12-day 2024 Black Friday Cyber Monday timeframe, that promotional period was their biggest ever compared to the same 12-day period ending on Cyber Monday in prior years. The deal event saw record sales and a record number of items sold. And lastly, we had stronger year. We had a strong year of best of the month picks. Way to go! Round of applause to all the clients. We had 83 titles selected as monthly picks, up from 69 in 2023. So congratulations to all of you. Over to BNN, and I'm just going to say I could take the entire hour to talk about the feedback we got from BNN, and I will follow up in the next client update with much more detailed BNN information. But overall, BNN experienced a tougher than expected holiday season, as Chuck mentioned, with the shortened holiday period. So it was a shorter selling period, and also Hanukkah was later. So it was more condensed. And also, there was a lack of publishing due to the election in Q4. But we tracked better when all of that happened in 2019 in terms of where the holidays landed. There were not any unexpected runaway bestsellers this year post-holiday. BNN again offered their sale on hardcovers to get double and triple stamps. And a couple of select groups of books got 50%. Thank you again for your support. Overall, for the holiday season, the top performing titles were those where we'd had a foundation, a strong partnership. That's from BNN and from our clients. Holiday made the hotter, and people gravitated toward sale gifting options that had account endorsement. There were very few surprise breakouts for the holiday titles. Black Friday signed edition program launched in the stores to drive foot traffic through the week, and titles became available for Cyber Monday. Year-end category highlights: biggest subjects in dollars mirrored last year. We showed declines across fiction, manga, and mystery and thriller. The largest growth came from science fiction and fantasy and romance, followed by movie and TV, nature and wildlife. But those are driven, when we say movie and TV and nature and wildlife, to a couple of single titles that really blew those numbers out at BNN. Cozy is the key word for BNN heading into 2025. They feel their consumer base will be looking for escapist fiction in the new year and expect cozy fantasy, cozy horror, and the original cozy mysteries to do well. Manga had an up and down year. When a series catches on, it can do very nicely, but it's becoming harder to break out new series. There was a surge in manga in December, though, which was nice to see. And please give us more TPOs. Several debuts get skipped entirely. I can get into more of that in future meetings. But and also when authors have social platforms that drive their followers to BNN.com and increase pre-orders, there's that word again. We get figure store buys, we get requests for signed copies, and initial orders and titles that would be skipped do not get skipped. So pre-orders is key. Other highlights: while the team had one less OMP in 2024 over 2023, the sales for our monthly picks were up a whopping 54%. And for exclusives that we come to you for, thank you. We have fewer asks, however, overall sales were up triple digits over 2023. Again, thank you for your support. New stores, BNN wrapped up the year with 653 open storefronts and plans to open another 60 in 2025. And then priorities, for 2025, more for B&N, more new store openings, in-section organization, you know, intentional assortment, compelling merchandising, and face out and shelf tacos. Award winners is going to be a big priority for them, and .com replatform. 2024 was about romance. I'm sorry. And then so that's it for B&N. And quickly for BAM, it was all about romance in 2024. This category saw a huge surge in popularity and eclipsed all other categories in Q4. While rom-coms continue to perform well, these are no longer at the top of the list. Romantic books that are extra spicy, books that are extra dark, and sports romances are selling particularly well. Other categories in fiction, such as literary fiction and mystery, have been more of a struggle, though there are some notable exceptions. BAM continues to prefer trade paperback originals. No surprise there for most fiction releases, but deluxe hardcover editions are working really well for established authors in romance, fantasy, and horror. Like B&N, BAM is all about the sprayed edges and stenciled edges. They're willing to take stronger buys on these titles and give them additional marketing, merchandising support. Fiction, of course, was their #1 category this year. Faith Point Entertainment also gained strength in Q4, with the latter buoyed by one major movie tie-in. Faith Point has a new buyer. I think you know that. And manga sales have settled after a period of decline, and BAM is very happy with where they've landed. Not surprisingly, they're doing especially well with the anime tie-ins. About 25% of their weekly manga sales are driven by new releases. And then very quickly over at Baker Taylor and Ingram, on the home stretch, billings and Ingram at Baker Taylor were down in 2024 at Ingram. This is in part due to greatly reduced fall build stock up. That didn't happen. That was down 75% from 2023. Fall builds. Part of the new plan going forward is to lower inventory and reorder as needed for shorter periods. That is now all of our retailers under national accounts buy that way. So important to keep that in mind. Ingram continues to expand their library market base post-pandemic. Last year, it was close to 20% of Ingram's total shipments of adult client titles, and Ingram's Target.com POS grew up by over 30%. At Baker and Taylor, head of collection development shared some anecdotes about where the libraries are feeling starting the year, seeing there's a degree of financial anxiety related to anticipation of changes in federal budgets and growing concerns about the impact of culture wars on libraries and the impact of library staff defending their collections. Our buyers at Baker and Taylor and Ingram note horror and romance remain strong categories, as well as decorative books, stained edges, special editions, etc. Horror and romance also had the longest tails. The rom-com that stand out for libraries are the ones that with diverse characters and especially LGBTQ characters. Book Talk authors and book club selections also continue to see higher demand. In the self-help category, books are changing and thinking that mental health toughness really stood out. And among new trend categories are cozy and cozy horror. Again, no surprise there. Everything's lining up amongst all the retailers. And format trends. I know I'm going over. We can talk more about that later. So that is what I have. Much more detail coming that we're going to put time aside in the February connection with all of you. But that's it for national accounts. And thank you. And apologies for going over.
Thank you, Colleen. And we're going to move over to Anne.
Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. And as Colleen said, thank you so much for all of the support that you've given to the Field Sales channel this year, everything that we've asked you for. It was a really good year. It seems that there wasn't one particular story to tell at the Indies this year. It was a good year for us. PRH's indie bookstore business, including clients, was up over our excellent 2023 numbers. And most stores were slightly up from 2023. They had a banner 2023, so this is all good. Some stores were slightly down, but overall, most accounts are feeling positive about their performance. Almost every account mentioned the shorter selling season that Chuck talked about at the beginning of this session. Thanksgiving being late meant 5 fewer shopping days. However, most noticed that traffic picked up later in past years, with some stores having their biggest day on Monday before Christmas rather than the traditional Saturday. Many stores also mentioned that the election year affected shoppers' moods and perhaps affected shopping patterns. Weather conditions such as severe flooding, rain, and snow affected store traffic and sales in some regions. Accounts praised the speed of PRH's stock replenishment and the PRH.biz site, as well as our always excellent customer service department. There were very few supply chain issues across the board, but PRH, as always, excelled over all the other publishers. There wasn't one must-have book this year, as you've heard, though it does seem that Percival Everett James was the strongest contender. Serviceberry by Robin Wall Kimmerer would have also been a contender, but most accounts were unable to get enough stock to fulfill demand. Stores reported that hardcovers outside of bestsellers were very tough this year, but trade paperbacks in mystery and romance did very, very well. Fancy, spec'd up hardcovers did well. Even at the indies where there was some hesitation about bringing in too many of those, customers did seem to respond to them. Another thing that was mentioned by multiple accounts were quote unquote dad books. I think these are books by authors like Eric Larson, books about sports, adventure, nature writing. I never really thought of dad books as their own character, but a number of stores did mention that this year. So that's something that I'll kind of keep an eye out going forward. And then also, as you've heard, escapism was mentioned over and over and over by accounts. Romance did show some signs of quieting down in Q4, but there's a theory that perhaps it's because people tend to buy romances for themselves, but it's a little dicier to buy them as a gift, especially as we start talking Chili Peppers. So that could be something that is just, people buy them for themselves, not as gifts. But romances still did very well. Horror remained really strong, especially in trade paperback. And we've heard that Book Talk had a lesser impact than in the previous years. We saw growth in art, architecture, design, thank you, Barbie, and music and performing arts, Patti Smith, MF Doom, Taylor Swift. Cooking was down, with customers saying there was no one must-have cookbook this year, though several mentioned the success of Ina Garten's memoir, which might have taken that place of the cookbook of the year. Beyond that, most memoirs were disappointing at the indies this year. Comics and graphic novels were somewhat down, although the good news here is that Powell's has just expanded their space for this category, so we can see some upside there. Sidelines and non-traditional format books were up, though a few accounts mentioned that calendar sales are shrinking as more and more consumers go digital. There were enough Taylor Swift titles this season that it became its own category at several stores. Some sold, some didn't, but there didn't seem to be an overarching winner in the Taylor Swift category, and likely much of it came down to merchandising visibility and on-hand inventory. The Taylor Swift gift giver would buy whatever was on display at the time they were shopping. And books with local or regional appeal were in high demand, and several stores mentioned that their top books of the year and of the quarter were from local authors. Our indies worked really hard for their sales through creative promotions and curation. The focus on staff picks and personalized customer service played a crucial role in driving sales. There were some really creative promotions, and we don't have time to go into all of them. I just wanted to highlight a few. Link's Book in Florida did, I think, my favorite thing. They did an Icelandic book flood event where they offered customers the opportunity to buy a book they'd like to give to a stranger. They had a little card that the customer could fill out. And then they had a festive event in the middle of the month where customers came in and picked up their books, and over 100 people participated. Also really successful was the Strands Blind Date Book with a Book program, where they wrapped and decoratively created and described titles, but the customer who was buying them didn't know what they were getting. It was just based on the description. I think the success of these two programs show that people really like surprises, and even though they love to read, sometimes they don't really, it's not about the book that they're getting, they just want a surprise or a gift for themselves. So I think there's some opportunity to play around with there. Another store did a highly successful black bag sale where you stuffed a bag and you got 20% off anything that fit in the bag. Some stores used their regional holiday catalog gift guides for the regional associations and the coupons, which was an effective promotion. And then many stores created their own gift guides and holiday newsletters One bookseller even printed out their holiday catalog and had it mailed to zip codes in their area and found it really successful, and they're going to do that again. So I think we'll see a lot more customization, personalization, and curation. Author events, signed copies, and book fairs were cited as important to some stores' success this season. Also important were in-store book clubs and subscription boxes. This year, we saw over 80 client titles chosen by stores for these programs. Thank you for everything extra that we ask you to do when we have a book chosen for one of these programs. I know it does create some extra work, but the benefits are really there. Looking ahead, stores are optimistic about 2025, focusing on leveraging successful strategies from the past year, adapting to ongoing challenges. The cost of doing business continues to put stress on stores' bottom lines. Providing a living wage to employees, health insurance, and dealing with rising store leases continue to be a major challenge. Savvy stores will continue to focus on curation and personalization, more staff picks, and more of an emphasis on staff picks to help stores stand out and differentiate themselves from others. What this means for the clients is that we'll want early galleys to seed interest and get those staff picks. We want more galleys. And if a finished book is particularly beautiful or interesting in its production, getting finished copies to key stores will be really helpful in getting that hand-selling energy behind it. And that really can make or break a book at the indies. We continue to have requests from buyers for more trade paperback originals. Special and deluxe editions will continue to be sought out by customers, but I suspect our indie buyers may be a little more selective in which titles they buy and bring in. And I think the recognizable names are more apt to be brought in without much thought, and then it's going to be a negotiation for lesser known authors. We expect a continued strong focus on regionality. Publishers, please encourage your authors to connect with their local bookstores, both as an author and as a customer. This does take some work, but more than one account this year reported that their bestsellers were largely titles of local or regional interest or by local authors with whom they had a relationship. And we can talk much more about that as the year goes on. And many stores will continue to look to publishers to help them create new experiences for customers with their titles, whether through events, curated content, or other creative ideas. We look forward to brainstorming and working with you more on this throughout the year as well. Thank you again for your support. Thanks to your staffs who really went above and beyond to help us. I appreciate it all and look forward to a very profitable 2025 for all of us. Happy New Year. I think I'm going over to Erin now.
Thanks, Anne. Hi, everyone, and Happy New Year. I'm Erin Riley. I'm going to be speaking to the Mass Merch channel. If we look at ReaderLink as representative of the majority of the Mass channel, we ended this year down 4.5% in dollars and down 9% in units. We had some really strong weeks over the summer with Costco and the airport showing positive comps to last year. And then we had a tough holiday season. We were down 12% across accounts in POS for the months of November and December versus the year prior. We did actually have a very strong Christmas week overall, though. We were up 37% versus the same week last year, which I think speaks to a lot of last-minute shopping at our retailers due to that shortened window between Black Friday and Christmas. The top of the list was a challenge for us this year. We just didn't have the same level of blockbuster successes to comp titles like Prince Harry Spare or Lessons in Chemistry. If you look at the split by format overall, mass market was down the most, down 23% in dollars. This is a downtrend that we've been seeing for years, driven further with reduction in space at Walmart and grocery. Trade, we ended the year down 2% in dollars, and hardcover was down 4%. If you look at the year more broadly for the channel, including all publishers and kids and adult combined, the picture is more positive. ReaderLink POS for the year ended up 5% versus last year, mainly driven by Target and Walmart, but most other key accounts also up for them. Grocery, drug, and Sam's is where they saw declines. The decreases in grocery mainly driven by space changes, both within the book department as well as reduced outplacement opportunities. And for Sam's, the decrease primarily tied to growing pains associated with the new fixtures that were implemented this year, and we do expect that trend to reverse. If we look at our PRH adult specific performance at the retailers, Target ended the year down 3% overall in POS, but there were some very exciting bright spots last year that showed Target's dedication to books as a category. In September, the department saw an average of 10% in space gains, which shifted from movies. As a result, book talk and fantasy gained significant real estate to support these growing categories. The front of store check lane also continues to be a major volume driver for our biggest releases, and we'll continue to leverage that space for our key titles. We also saw a major effort from Target this past year to amplify their Circle program and promotional weeks, which resulted in significant sales growth. Shifting to Walmart, Walmart ended the year down just 1% in POS overall. Some key callouts there, we saw a major shift in format support from mass market to trade starting in September, with 4 feet of mass market space shifting in 2,500 stores to be more trade book talk focused. Walmart also had some new strategies in 2024, which impacted sales, including tighter purchasing and titles being carried for a shorter period of time than we've seen in the past. Hardcovers were the main growth category at Walmart this past year, mainly due to the romantasy trend and the high-spec hardcover editions. Trade paper began to see a decline, both with PRH and overall for the Walmart marketplace, after several years of rapid growth from adult coloring books and the trade romance category. We do anticipate trade sales to level out in 2025, with Walmart's focus on their modular sets, which will help protect the length on shelves in the store, which is key for this format. For Hudson, they ended the year up 17% overall. Airport traffic continues to steadily recover from pandemic years, and our support at the airports continues to be a well-balanced mix of all 3 formats. For the clubs, Costco ended the year flat, Sam's was down 8%, and BJ's was down 7%. It was a difficult year at the clubs, where a business is most reliant on the top of the list. Like I said earlier, we just didn't have those big blockbusters to comp to. For Costco, I did want to just take a moment. It's actually pretty impressive that we ended the year flat there, given the pressures we felt on the category with the space changes last January. We saw more conservative buys this year and lower inventory levels overall in anticipation of the changes at many clubs post-holiday. As a reminder, Costco is currently in a sell-down period for the month of January for 450 clubs that won't be carrying books year-round going forward. Our year-round book presence will only be at 100 of the 550 clubs going forward, with the remainder only carrying books for Q4. That's going to make that space even more competitive and is probably our biggest challenge as a channel that we'll face this year. Lastly, I just wanted to end with some high-level adult category notes across publishers for the channel. Adult fiction overall POS was up 17%. This accounted for the majority of overall POS gain. The largest increase was in fantasy, about half of those sales still coming from Moss and Yaros, and the hardcover deluxe editions that have been driving buzz and sales. Fantasy is followed by romance and thriller suspense. Though lesser volume, we did also see uptrends in sci-fi, plus 54%, and horror, plus 30%. Sci-fi driven mainly by limited content like Dune, but horror does seem indicative of a more lasting trend in the channel. For narrative nonfiction, POS was down 18% for the year. This is obviously content driven, and again, we just didn't have answers this year for titles like Prince Harry, Britney Spears, and the Elon Musk, which were real bright spots for us. Inspiration is being watched as a growth category, up almost 1%, and we do think if we can find the right content and format, this could be a real opportunity for us, particularly at Sam's and Walmart. Nonfiction, if we exclude the Target Eras Tour book, POS was down 13% overall, The largest declines we saw were in cookbook, calendars, and self-help. Celebrity cookbooks did work, though very retailer dependent. I know that was a lot to cover. If I missed anything or if anyone has any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. And with that, I will pass it to the education group.
Hi, this is David Underwood. I'll be talking to you about our business with educational wholesalers first, and along with Kaz Woods, and then we'll turn to college bookstores in the second half of my time today. 2024 was a difficult year for the K-12 educational wholesaler business across the board. PRHPS billing was down roughly 25% compared to the previous year, and that's the lowest we've seen in quite some time. Demand has decreased noticeably from schools in states where laws are dictating content. DE&I concepts, sexual, political content, historical controversies are especially being restricted. Of course, there are still many states where there are no restrictions, and in those cases, we are still seeing an active demand for all the same kinds of titles that had been selling for many, many years. Also last year, we did see the very, very tail end of any COVID-generated funding, so that contributed to our decrease. Looking at categories, within the PRHPS world, comics and graphic novels account for 70% of the total sales in this channel. 20% is nonfiction and 10% is fiction. Comics and graphic novel sales were down 18%, which, if you recall, is less than the 25% I cited for the total business. There was one big customer change in our channel in the last year, and that was the purchase of BookSource by Mackin Book Company late in the year. These were two of our top 6 wholesalers, and combined they will be a stronger competitor for Follett Content Solutions, which has been and still will be the top wholesaler for schools. We are planning to make a visit to see Mackin late this spring to discuss what this new company means for them, and we'll have more information for you about that in time. Now over to Kaz for some news about trends in direct sales to schools.
Hi, thank you. It's great to be here again. The direct sales team had a very strong year in this market. We had great success in the category of phonics, as many schools are aligning with the science of reading and are implementing decodables. More and more schools are asking for Spanish language titles, both authentic works in addition to translated texts. Both Spanish language learners and dual language classrooms are seeking titles that can be taught in both English and Spanish. And Cheryl Westberg recently attended a multilingual conference in Illinois, where this need was emphasized in conjunction with ESSA, the Every Student Succeeds Act. Our offerings positioned us as a top provider as we carry over 3,000 books in Spanish for the K-12 market. One of our curators of the translanguaging collection spoke at this conference to over 800 educators, which drove interest in these collections. While we have been seeing a decrease in ebooks in the K-12 market over the last 3 years, in 2024, we did see a slight uptick overall, with schools continuing to purchase in this format. And finally, we are keeping a very close eye on any changes that could affect the education sector with the new administration. That's it for K-12. Back to David.
Thanks, Kaz. Now looking at the college bookstore business, the college marketplace was down less this year than we have seen in some previous years. For PRHPS, the business was down 11%. Within that universe, comics and graphic novels were, as a category, up quite a bit during the year, 25%. Fiction was down 16% and nonfiction down 13%. Return rates continue to be a problem for college bookstores, and the return rate overall for PRHPS publishers was 44% during 2024. A little bit of account news. Barnes & Noble College and Follett Corporation, which are our 2 biggest chains managing college bookstores, use their accounts with PRH to purchase books for course adoption and Common Reads programs. For their trade departments, they still source from Ingram or Baker & Taylor after they meet with our reps to learn about the new books, and we do present them all to those buyers. Both chains continue to maintain a fairly robust trade section in roughly 75 to 100 stores across the country. In other stores that have trade sections, they tend to be smaller and focused on bestsellers or some core titles in the backlists which fit the profile of the universities. B&N College is ending some of their contracts with universities who are reticent to adopt equitable access programs. So we are seeing some shift in management among the major chains, and some are becoming independent. Now over to Cass for a little bit more about her work with digital course adoption.
Great. On a high note, we exceeded our sales goal for inclusive and equitable access adoptions. As a reminder, these inclusive access programs are digital first for colleges and universities. These programs provide a way for us to recover revenue for backlist adoptions where used print is often purchased, while providing the least cost digital book for the student. Recently, the Department of Education announced that digital inclusive access programs can remain opt-out. And this means that students are enrolled in this program when professors choose to participate. Students have to choose to opt out and be excluded. And this is a great win for increasing sales. One of our large bookstore chains has been unable to participate in these programs with PRH, given a software limitation with their previous ebook vendor. But we're happy to note that they are in the process of aligning with a new vendor, and we anticipate that this will open the door for us at some point in the future and will increase digital sales even further. And finally, as you know, PRH has taken the lead on fighting censorship and book banning, supporting schools in reinstating books in libraries and classrooms, which has been greatly appreciated by this market. That's it for me.
International is next. Beth, tell me if I've got that wrong. Happy 2025, everyone. It's great to be here with you. Thank you for all your support in the year. And we all hope you had a lovely holiday break. I'm joined by Christopher Flores today. Drew Smith is on vacation. And I'll just mention a few top notes, and then Christopher will go through some finer details. 2025 was our second best year for PureHPS client titles. We had a very strong year and really a clawing back year, if you will, in Europe, particularly with Amazon, which we'll get into a little bit later. Holiday sales, which I'll talk about briefly, were mostly strong around the world. In the UK, the year was a little tougher overall. It was about 2.2% down, at least measured by footfall there. But it seems that the holiday period was fairly strong in the UK, but we're still getting some data to completely ascertain that. On the continent in Europe, inflation seemed to have taken its toll on the marketplace, but books were certainly quite strong and seemed to be a category that did better than most categories in the marketplace. And of course, the growth of English language readership is really helping our sales there. In Asia, sales also mostly positive with growth in the book business. In bookstores, that was buoyed by also the growth of non-book business. Categories like blind boxes are growing so strongly by companies like Sunny Angels and PopMart, but that is drawing footfall into those stores, which is helping our book business. And those markets that are impacted by non-book are markets like the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Taiwan, and Malaysia. The last thing I'd like to note is that on the Amazon interim client solution, which did really help our sales and recoup some of those lost sales that we had in 2023, it's working well. It continues on this year, but just a reminder, which I know Rachel and others have been saying, that will come to a close officially at the end of May. So we are hoping that you're taking advantage of the POD facility we have in place to start converting some of your titles into print on demand, and also looking for printing in Europe, in the UK, or on the continent, or within the region, so that when ICS comes to a close with Amazon, we have another way to supply your books to Amazon Europe. That's it for me. Over to Christopher. Christopher, you are muted.
Can I go now?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So overall, international client sales are showing strong growth with an 11% increase in net sales compared to 2023. Return rates are currently at their lowest in 5 years, now under 5%. Frontlist and initial sales continue to remain steady over the past 3 years, and our backlist titles have seen a nice boost in net sales, and this is due in part to the interim client solution at Amazon EU. Richard Callison, who's the VP of International Online Sales, reports that we were able to recoup more than half of 2022 billing for clients in 2024, mostly due to ICS. While we expect ICS to continue into this year, we are anticipating that Amazon will ask us for more details on our transition to local printing options. This will likely be a focus during our meeting with them at the London Book Fair. POD has also been a significant contributor to our sales last year, and while it's more expensive, we see this as a viable option for keeping books in stock and maintaining higher demand for our titles. We have also launched a number of major marketplace accounts last year, including Rare Waves, who has worldwide reach, which helped to boost our sales. We continue to work to grow our marketplace business and anticipate that we will go live with a number of additional accounts this year. While DN audio continues to be a popular format, we continue to see an overall decline in ebooks and ultimately ended up with being slightly down in digital formats as a result. Also, though we didn't see many returns from Amazon last year, we do anticipate returns to start picking up again this year. However, the team is managing the orders daily and trying to make sure anything they are ordering is aligned with the customer demand that we are seeing. The European team has noted that the English language market continues to show demand, with bookstores expanding their English language sections. The growth in shelf space indicates larger cultural interest in international titles. In terms of formats, both hardcover and paperback editions saw growth in net sales. Typically, the international market favors paperback editions due to the lower price point. However, we are starting to see increased demand for high-end deluxe editions over $50, box sets, and omnibus collections. In terms of subject group, fiction and nonfiction categories both showed strong growth, with fiction continuing to perform the best, and with adult nonfiction gradually catching up in areas such as computers and art books. And then additionally, the international team is welcoming 2 new team members. We welcome Matthew Irwin, who is our new UK sales manager and who'll be working closely with our third-party UK distributors and direct accounts across all PRH core and client lists, and he is based in the UK. And we also welcome Beatriz Alves Oliveira, who is now the regional sales manager for South America. She is based in Brazil, and this will be the first time that we have someone based in South America. And we're looking forward to continuing to grow in 2025. That's all for me.
Thank you, guys. And we'll move on to Canada with Charity.
Hi, everyone. Very cold here in Toronto, so if you are not cold right now, count yourself lucky. So I'm just going to give a pretty top-level overview of some of the things that happened in the last quarter in Canada. Fundamentally, we had a pretty soft start to the holiday quarter. There's a couple of reasons for this. I think the biggest reason, in case some of you might not be aware of this, late in the fall, the Canadian government actually announced that they would be providing GST relief to all Canadians, which meant basically no GST on a number of different items, including toys, alcohol, and books. So this means that all consumers were told that starting December 14th that they would be saving 5% on any book that they would be purchasing. So that really meant that some people actually waited to do a lot of their holiday shopping for that final period, which made it a little bit difficult for us to actually really understand how customers were going to purchase books in the last period. We really worked to make sure that we were in a good inventory position, but the lagging couple of weeks after Black Friday, which continues to grow here in Canada, really just meant that, we saw a bit of a stasis period, and in that kind of core period where we really needed a lot of shipments to be getting out there, stores actually felt that they were in a very good position. For the most part, we remained in a very good inventory position at Penguin Random House because we tried to look ahead to this opportunity, but really we didn't expect the sheer compression that we ended up seeing. Additionally, something that didn't just affect Canada is obviously the compression period for holiday shopping in general, and the fact that Christmas and Hanukkah happened at the same time. So again, we had a lot of kind of last minute shoppers coming in that last couple of weeks.
That said, the other contributing factor to the soft sales in Canada was that there really weren't a lot of blockbuster titles. We were hearing from a lot of our retailers that there was no one or two books that were really driving all of the sales, with the exception of a couple of kids titles that came out in the last quarter, Dogman, Diary of a Wimpy Kid here in Canada, and I think in the States as well. But where we also saw that was that there was a lot more differentiation across accounts. So we didn't necessarily see the same bestsellers at Indigo versus our indies versus Amazon, et cetera. It really did feel like there was a lot of differentiation. And then I think one of the other things really worth noting, and I think I've mentioned this in one of the other meetings with all of you in the past, is price really does continue to be a bit of a concern here in Canada. The Canadian dollar is definitely weak. There have been a couple of decisions made across strategies with retailers, which have made it so that some retailers are actually not discounting books as much as they used to, which on the one hand I think is really quite great, but on the other, combined with a lot of the inflation woes and continued conversations about recession, plus the GST relief, it all sort of contributed to there being a bit of a softening in the market across the board. And so where we did see growth was in trade paperbacks, in cheaper coloring books, and particularly in a lot of independent or self-published titles that had cheaper price points. The other thing worth noting is that Indigo, in their attempt to really try to push and emphasize books, they really decided to concentrate their efforts in store, which means that they also really have kind of walked away from a lot of their support online. So we have definitely not been able to comp to our same success with Indigo in the last couple of years, just because we're sort of missing that online customer, and we're not necessarily finding that online customer is moving to Amazon as much as they would have. And really in Canada, there's pretty much indigo.ca and there's Amazon. There's not a lot of other retailers who are actually selling books in any great way online, which is definitely something that we're going to be thinking about over the next little while. Walmart doesn't really sell books significantly. Costco doesn't really sell books. Our independents have, a very small kind of online platform. So it really is Indigo and Amazon. When Indigo doesn't really put a lot of emphasis on it, there's a lot of pressure on Amazon, and we just haven't had quite the same interaction with Amazon that folks in the US have. So that's been something, that's been a bit troubling for us. In terms of trends, I mentioned that we didn't see a lot of the big blockbusters and that there was a lot of disparity across bestsellers, across retailers. What we did see was another big growth in coloring books, but it really seems limited to the Cocowayo and not even all of them. I'm not sure if that's something that's really working in the States as well. And then, as mentioned, the one exception to the blockbuster rule is kind of some of the kids' titles. We've had a lot of change in some of the retailer strategies. Walmart is, of course, sort of rethinking their approach to books. Costco, while not taking the same tack that they have with the United States, are definitely thinking about this. And it's definitely meant for a bit more tumultuousness in buying patterns in the last little while. And that's definitely something that we kind of started to see at the end of last year and are going to be thinking about all of this year as well. And then, as mentioned, Indigo absolutely focusing on their in-store experience, and they are really growing their in-store sales, but sort of at the expense of some of their online sales. So we're really hoping that there's a significant growth in-store to overcome the lack of online sales. And then Toys R Us continues to be a challenging retail partner for us to be working with, and so we've lost them. And, in general, just finding it a bit hard to kind of navigate the Canadian marketplace right now. That said, we ended the year fairly flat to the last couple of years. So flat is the new up as far as we're concerned. And that's what's happening in Canada.
Thank you, Charity. We're going to pass it over to special markets, and then we'll be wrapping up with library. I know we're going to be going a little over time here, so appreciate everyone staying on.
Hey everyone, Happy New Year. Here's a brief overview of Special Markets 2024 business. A detailed update, including account information, will be sent to PRHPS for posting on exchange. Special Markets finished December up 3% and ended 2024 up 1.5% compared to 2023. However, the client business segment ended 2024 down 1.6%. Specialty retail experienced a decrease of 2%. However, the direct market was up 3% overall and up 2% in PRHPS billings. We opened 2,000 new accounts in specialty retail. Some of our challenges included our customers continue to remain conservative, purchasing fewer SKUs and lower quantities, and they're most interested in buying into new trends. Foot traffic remained down, although it did pick up significantly for holiday. Economic concerns and the election reduced consumer spending. Accounts had less open to buy dollars for purchasing, less overall quantities for less risk during holiday. There were decreases in some key markets like the gift market and big box stores like TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Home Goods, Five Below, Michaels, and Joann Fabrics. Billing declined at larger museum accounts from the record year of 2023. Sorry about that. Let's see. So billing declined at larger museum accounts from the record year of 2023 due to drops in exhibition-related buying and museum construction, expansion, and renovation at key accounts. There were some key accounts that went out of business, including Zulily, Universal Screen Arts Catalogs, Common Ground, and Palmer Marketing. And with the transition from Right Stuff to Crunchyroll late in the second half of the year, we were unable to close the gap as their strategy continues to evolve. Additionally, the summer gift show season was soft and carried through the remainder of 2024. But we had lots of highlights. We sold to 15,000 accounts in 2024. The direct market had robust comic launches of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Last Ronin 2, Ultimate Universe, Blood Hunt, and DC Compact Classics. And the direct market 2024 sales of East Asian comics increased by 13% in billing and 18% in units, bringing strong growth to a category that softened in 2023 and 2022. And then on another note, our business with Fair steadily grows as we continue to partner with them on new opportunities. Traditional department stores revitalized their book business with us, including JCPenney, Macy's, Bergdorf's, and Neiman Marcus. And customers are continuing to shop, with most retailers reporting strong holiday sales as consumers are purchasing closer to holiday. We realized record billing at numerous top-tier museum accounts, including Service Systems and New York Public Library. And the retail group had a good event year with Williams-Sonoma and Crate & Barrel hosting our top culinary talent. They are looking to partner with us in 2025, particularly with authors with large audiences. The U.S. direct market team had successfully capitalized on every publishing opportunity and continues to partner with this unique market. We launched two key initiatives, the direct market counter display and the browse and order system via prhcomics.com. And we expanded our direct market partnership program with 35 new members, resulting in a 3% increase in unit sales and a 4% increase in billing for participating retailers. Our site traffic for the PRH retail site has seen a major increase in 2024, with monthly page view growth of 36% and unique monthly visitor growth of 74%. Please be sure to speak to your retail marketing team with blog posts for blog posts and asset opportunities. Trends in the adult world. Paper overboard and books under $20 are the ones that really worked well for us. Entertaining decks continue to exceed expectations. There's phenomenal cross-merchandising placement at both large and small retailers. Christian lifestyle expanded beyond accounts like Altered State. Pop culture and 80s, 90s nostalgia grew. And as other people said, regional titles really resonated for both pride of place and as souvenirs at our accounts. Cozy decorating, easy projects, and display books were trending. And nostalgic toys and license-driven products such as Monchichi, Miffy, Calico Critters, Sanrio, Moomin, etc. Some category themes within the luxury books section: home decor and design, home design and decor. The trends here were minimalista, call it home, home therapy. And I'm missing a page here. Sorry about that. High emphasis on color palettes and cover treatments across accounts. And neutral linen covers are high in demand, and blues and greens are sometimes treated as neutrals in this area. Within the entertaining segment, beans, pickles, dirty sodas, and tinned fish were some of the trends. Within pop culture, the licenses that were rising to the top include Stitch, Nightmare Before Christmas, Polly Pocket, Grand Theft Auto 6, Wicked, Superman, Hello Kitty, Gilmore Girls, and within the celebrity realm, Taylor Swift is kind of flattening. However, Sabrina Carpenter, Olivia Rodrigo, Chappelle Roan, Timothée Chalamet, Charlie XCX, and Ariana Grande are the ones that our customers are looking for. Within health and wellness, female-focused health and menopause, living with chronic illnesses, and self-help in business and life, moving away from toxic positivity. And looking at our premium sales and diversified channel, this landed down 4% with the premium billings flat to 2023, while the diversified author business and display marketers were down 14%. However, we had some highlights. Powerline increased billings by 13% after an impressive 2023. They expanded their partnership with the Home Shopping Network, and they submit about 100 POs every day to us. Porchlight increased their billings by 8%, and Premier is up 22% as corporate refocused their giveaway business, which is bulkbooks.com, versus their celebrity live signings, which lives under the retail team. And the premium literacy channel realized growth of 17% in client billing over 2023. And with that, I will turn it over to the library folks.
Hi, everybody. I have a weird glare. I'm sorry. And I know we're last, so we're going to be quick and succinct. I'm going to talk about a couple of the highlights from the library marketing team this year. And then Miriam is going to talk about some of the trends in libraries as a whole. And sorry, I can't fix my camera, but that's all right. So we hope Happy New Year to all of you. It was a great year. We had a lot of fun marketing your books and talking about them to all the library folks nationwide, and we are looking forward to a very busy year. We literally started off immediately with a bunch of new projects coming up, and it's going to be another fun, exhausting, crazy year. So we're happy to be working with all of you. Our virtual festivals are still going strong. That's our proprietary festival that we do twice a year in conjunction with Library Journal and School Library Journal, and we know a lot of you have participated in that. We do one in December and one in May this year instead of April. That's a spot where we get to have virtual booths and programming featuring all of our upcoming titles and authors that we're excited about. And like I said, we have about 5,000 librarians in attendance to each one of those, and then the recordings kind of live on, and it's a great opportunity for us to bring in Random House and client titles. Our morning book buzz, which is our now we started doing it weekly right after COVID started, where we were talking to librarians about your feature titles and priority titles. We've scaled back on that now that our live events are back in process, and we are going to be doing that going forward 6 times a year. But it's a great opportunity for us to focus in on feature upcoming priority titles. And we have about 300 librarians on average each time we do this event. And again, the recording is always downloaded a lot as well. And the feedback from this event is great. And we know librarians use it for discoverability and collection development. We wanted to also mention that, obviously programming is going pretty well at libraries these days, but library cons are back in full force, with some libraries reporting thousands of people in attendance. We have libraries report to us what library cons they do and what they are presenting at these events. And for us, this is a great opportunity for me to be able to talking to all of you to tell you that swag is a great thing for you to make or create for these events, or if you have things lying around, this is a great opportunity for us to reach a lot of patrons at the same time with your graphic novels and manga and fandom titles that you're excited about. We have really just continued this great partnership we have with Bryant Park. We are hosting graphic novel events, classics, and specific events for different titles that we're really excited about on the client side. This year, we're going to be adding some educational programming for kids and romance programming. Another great opportunity for us to get client titles into the hands of lots of tourists and people that live in New York City, and a lot of readers and book club attendees. Our general outreach is growing, reaching over 6,000 people on our children's library list with our newsletter that goes out once a month. And our graphic novel newsletter that goes out once a month is going to about 15,000 librarians nationwide. And then our general library newsletter list that goes out once a week, where we feature titles usually genre focused or themed. But then also we have collections that goes out to over 40,000 librarians every week. And we have an incredibly engaged audience. If you haven't seen it, we have a beautiful new website that we redesigned this year that is easier to just for discoverability and maneuvering, where we are able to upload book club questions, collections, all sorts of things. And that's penguinrandomhouselibrary.com. And we encourage you to take a look at that. Our conference schedule this year is we will be attending ALA's LLX, which used to be Midwinter, the Texas Library Association, ALA Annual, the American School Library Show is this year. It's every other year. It is this year. And also for the first time in a really long time, or maybe ever, our team is, I think it's just a really long time, maybe like 20 years. Our team is going to attend the ACRL conference I think it's in April. So that'll give us an opportunity to focus on some of our more scholarly and educational materials. We are also considering some programming or events at particularly strong state shows if there's a strong author or book tie-in. And I'm going to pass it over to Miriam to talk about some of the library trends and what's going on there. Thanks, Miriam. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Kelly, and hello. Libraries continue to rebound from the pandemic with an impressive growth in overall usage and a notable shift in how patrons use the library as vital third places. Here are some selected highlights and trends. In-person visits to public libraries remain on the rise, but institutions are still reporting fewer average in-person visits compared to the 2019 levels. Digital collection checkouts reached new highs, topping pre-pandemic levels. There are significant changes in how patrons engage with library programs and services. For example, there's an increased use of libraries as flexible spaces with room reservations on the rise, and this aligns with the work from home trend. Both the number of programs offered by libraries and program attendance rose, and among the most popular programs were ones, of course, that promoted books and reading, everything from story times, book clubs, and author visits, but also programs that promoted creativity and collaboration, everything from crafting and makerspace workshops, as well as digital literacy workshops from technology training, innovative programs that related to AI, for example, the ABCs of artificial intelligence for teenagers. There's a moderate growth in the number of new branch library locations, which is, of course, a welcome trend in the face of rising urban population. And general feedback from the field is that library staff really appreciate the opportunity to attend professional development programs, especially virtual events such as Indie Book Buzzes or Book Buzzes as a whole that are webinars. Additionally, staff are making great use of the resources. They appreciate having access to digital advanced reader copies, AREs, book discussion guides, excerpt samplers, as well as the many banned book resources that have been made available by the various publishers. And we thank you all for your support.